Listen, fellas, I'm here to tell you one specific thing, and that is lean is law, but mass is completely mandatory, right? Everyone understands lean is law. Get as lean as possible. Get as 10, 15% body fat. Around that range, you should be good, right? But what most people don't understand is that mass is mandatory. You have to have the mass with the lean physique, because if you're just lean and you don't have the mass, then you don't have that effect that essentially almost like accelerates your physique in terms of how it looks. And it almost accelerates, if you have that mass, it accelerates how you look at yourself, because now you're seen as a more powerful man. You have more strength, of course, because with more mass comes more strength. And when you get into sports like fighting and things like that, you can use that mass, you can use that strength that you have functionally, right? But most people don't understand how to actually do this. How do you get lean and build mass at the same time? Well, all of that is called body recomposition. This is what I have all of my clients do, right? They come into me specifically for fitness, because I have clients for many different things, but fitness specifically, I always tell them we're going through a body recomposition, because a lot of people that come to me are either skinny fat, or a lot of them are overweight to a certain extent, where they have to lose that fat, but they also have to keep and build muscle at the same time. This has been my philosophy for years. This is why I've been able to stay lean for years. This is why I've been able to maintain mass, even though sometimes I've lost mass, right? Because I've undereaten, because I was busy on business, I was busy on doing other things. I've always come to the conclusion that if you can do body recomps more than cutting and bulking cycles, that will put you at a way better position than if you're cutting and you're bulking separately in different cycles. This is what the typical gym bros do. For me, I want to be able to have an aesthetic, lean, but also strong and big physique. And so the way that you do this, I'm going to give you exactly the breakdown so I don't waste your time, right? One, you have to be able to be in a caloric deficit year round. I think people who are at a caloric deficit year round don't understand how powerful this is, right? Because when you're in a crazy caloric surplus, you get really bloated, you look kind of weird. If you look at my old videos when I was back in Utah, right? My face was bloated. And why? Because I was consuming so much food. Now, food in the US kind of sucks. Here, it's very, very clean, it's very natural, it comes from the ground, it's less expensive. In the US, it's more expensive. But what you have to understand is that being in a caloric deficit allows for you to lose fat on autopilot. Autopilot, right? And now you might be thinking, if I lose fat, how am I going to build the muscle? Don't I need to be in a caloric surplus to build muscle, right? And what I've learned from my personal experience, this is not backed by science. Maybe it's not backed by science. I haven't really taken the time to research it as much in terms of like, does this actually work? But I know it works for me, and I know it works for a lot of the clients that I've worked with. Almost all of my clients are in caloric deficits, right? Caloric deficit between 300 to 500 calories. You don't go beyond that, right? Because when you go beyond that, then you start having issues. You start losing a lot of your energy. You start, dropping your testosterone. You stop performing as a man. Your brain starts to kind of feel weird. Like, I like being in a caloric deficit between 300 and 500 calories. Now, the magic in this, and this is where body recomposition is so effective. Once you get into that caloric deficit, you want to maintain, or if not, eat enough protein to be able to build more muscle, right? That's the body recomposition model, where you eat in a caloric deficit, but you're also eating a substantial amount of protein, enough for your target body weight, what you want to get to. You eat enough protein to be able to achieve that. And that's going to help you build your muscle mass while still being in a caloric deficit. So now, not only are you burning fat, but you're also building a lot of muscle at the same time, which gives you that V-taper look. A lot of men don't have the V-taper look, and that's what a lot of men want, right? They want the V line. They want the line coming across. They want to have that tapered look. And to be able to have that tapered look, the best way to do this is to be in a caloric deficit and make sure that you're eating a substantial amount of protein to be able to hit your goals. Now, the reason why this is working for a lot of people, and the reason why this is intuitive to like how you should be building your physique, is because when you go into that caloric deficit and you also consume the amount of protein that you need, you will start to build a lot more. Your shoulders will start to get bigger. Your arms will start to get bigger. You'll start to get carved here, so you'll lose a lot of that belly fat if you do have belly fat, right? Because a lot of people are skinny fat. Your chest will be pumped up. You will look significantly better in a short period of time than if you're in this massive cutting cycle and then you then go into this massive bulking cycle. I've done this before, especially when, you know, because I was in my bodybuilding days where like it's cutting and then it's bulking. It's never like a body recomp. But the reality is when I started to do the cutting and bulking cycle, I was yo-yoing, right? I was yo-yoing between puffy when I was bulking, and then I'd have to cut down and then get super, super lean, and then I'd get smaller, right? But then when I realized, well, shit, I can year round, like Greg Doucette calls it main gaining, right? For me, it's mostly about how do I maintain my physique and get leaner and leaner as I go, but also get bigger at the same time. And that was the answer. That's what I did. That's what I've been doing. That's why I can look bigger, but also still be losing fat and still be losing weight, right? And the reality is sometimes I'll gain weight and look leaner. And the reason for that is because muscle weighs more than fat. So some people, and this is where body recomp is real. Body composition by itself is real because you see two different people at 200 pounds, they can look completely different, have the same height, be 200 pounds and be completely different. Why? Because one person, their body composition can be mostly muscle and little fat, which then equates to 200 pounds, obviously with water weight and skeletal muscle, skeletal mass and all of that thing, they can be 200 pounds in body makeup. Another person can be 200 pounds in body makeup, but have high fat and low muscle, right? And still have the water weight and still have everything like that. And they look completely different. So for me, the weight doesn't necessarily matter as much as the look does, right? What I see on the scale doesn't necessarily reflect, sometimes it does, because right now I'm trying to hit a goal of being 220, but I'm also trying to do that by building strictly muscle and losing whatever fat that I have left. And you know, like I have a six pack and everything, and I'm not really, I don't have my shirt off on this video because it's morning time. Like I only have my shirt off when I genuinely have my shirt off at home. Like it's real. I don't just do it for the camera. Like it's just comfortable for me. But right now I have my shirt on. But the reality is, when you build that muscle, you will start to see the weight go up, but you'll start to see you look leaner. And then when you drop to that under 15% body fat, let's say 10 to 13% body fat, you'll actually look significantly bigger. You'll look bigger while still losing weight. And people don't understand how that works. And the reality is most people are under eating by significant amounts. So what I like to do with clients is I like to actually have them eat more, eat whole foods, which is what you should do. You should be eating whole foods. You should be in a caloric deficit, which is very easy to do when you eat whole foods because you get satiated a lot more. Because the reality is foods are different. What you probably are eating are artificial foods or foods that are highly processed, and processed foods basically combine like multiple versions or multiple combinations of macronutrients. So whole foods each food tends to be one macronutrient, which then makes it extremely effective when it comes to like getting the nutrients that you need in your body, the macronutrients that you need in your body. Maybe potatoes, for example, are whole foods, right? Potatoes are strictly carb-based, right? Strictly carb-based. Then you have meat, right? When you have meat directly from the source, not artificial like GMO meat, but like real meat from the real source, right? Organic meat, even though sometimes organic doesn't even mean organic. Here I get that shit straight from the farms. Straight from the farms around me, straight from a butcher that's cut the meat in front of me, that's actually like showed me the process. That's now pure protein, right? And it also has other micronutrients in there that's going to help me as well. Like all the vitamins that I need and all of the minerals that I need, everything like that, right? Then you have fats like avocados, right? That are purely fat-based. Like the good fats that are good for you, omega-3s, which are the micronutrients, I believe, all of that stuff comes in, and I can combine that and eat different macronutrients within the foods that I eat. Now, when you go into like artificial foods or fast foods, they combine all of these. They'll be like carbs, protein, and sugar and fats all in one single meal that you eat, which then you eat way more calories than you need to. And a majority of it is typically carbs because they want you to eat more, because the more that you eat carbs, the more that you get hungry, because carbs will burn a lot faster, or your body will use the carbs a lot faster. So you'll keep consuming that. And then you'll get full with carbs and you won't even have space for the protein. So if you want to go through a body recomposition, I say go protein first and then consume the carbs and the fats as well. Right? And if you're on the skinnier side, you want to be able to consume more fats because fats have more calories per gram than any other macronutrient. So if you're in a cycle where you want to gain weight, but gain weight in a lean way, you want to consume these healthy fats, right? Because 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of carb is 4 calories, right? So proteins and carbs have the same amount of calories, even though protein does help you build the muscle a lot more. Carbs are good for the energy. You need carbs because you need to be able to have enough energy to be able to sustain the day, especially if you're a man who's high functioning. And then when it comes to fats, you want to be able to consume a lot more of those because, again, those are going to help you with your hormones. That's what's going to help you with your testosterone. That's also what's going to help you with the mass that you want to build. So when you combine all of these and you make sure that you follow this body composition principle, this body recomposition principle, you now fall under the category of lean is law and mass is mandatory. Because it is mandatory, especially as a man. You want to look strong. You want to look dominant. You want to look powerful. You don't want to be super, super lean. And I get a lot of men want that Fight Club physique, right? I don't necessarily want the Fight Club physique. I want something more than that. I want to have the mass. I also want to have the mass in a functional way, which is why I train combat, which is why I do kickboxing. Because when you start to train combat, you start to move a lot of that mass that you have into a more functional field. I don't practice functionality in the gym. I don't do that because it's not meant to be functional. It's meant to, I look at the gym as you're going to the gym, you're building the ammo, you're building the weapon, and you use that weapon in combat sports, in rock climbing, in any sort of athletic activity that you do in sports. You have to be able to train yourself to be able to recruit those muscle fibers to be used in other things. So that's that's the game. You want to be athletic, you want to have mass, and you also want to be lean at the same time. That's the trifecta of like a quote unquote perfect physique, even though there's no such thing as a perfect physique, right? So once you get all of that stuff dialed in, it becomes a lot easier for you to be able to look the way that you want to look, to be able to perform the way that you want to perform, and to feel the way that you want to feel. Look good, feel good, perform better. That's the goal. That's the whole entire goal of a physique. It's not just for show. It's also for how you feel, confidence in yourself. It's also for effectiveness when you actually use that physique to be able to do different things in life. More people will admire someone who is quote unquote jacked or bigger if they can use that in other realms of human endeavor, not just look good for aesthetic purposes. Aesthetics are very important because, again, when you look at society, when you look at how you move around in life, it's a funnel. If you don't know what a funnel is in marketing, in internet marketing, it's essentially top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Top of the funnel is how you look, right? Middle of the funnel is essentially how you operate, how you use that physique in certain areas. Bottom of the funnel is literally your effectiveness as a man in society. So you want to be able to stack this and make sure that the top of funnel is solid, make sure the middle of funnel is solid as well, which is functionality, and make sure the bottom of the funnel, which is basically using the look and the functionality to achieve more in life. That's the whole goal. Bottom of the funnel really is the mind. You have to be able to train the mind the same way that you train the body, and it's similar, right? It's the same. I always say mental recomposition because it's the same as body recomposition at the top of the funnel, right? Changing your thoughts into action versus thinking, right? Thinking makes up a lot of people's brain composition without actual action, which is getting your brain to have your body do a lot of the things that you need to do. So if you flip that, you do a mental recomposition, now you become a more effective man, and now you're able to achieve more in life. And that's where I'm at now, where it's like a mental recomposition. I've already done the body recomposition multiple times, right? But now it's the mental recomposition. So everything is aligned. All of the principles in fitness are the same in life. You just have to be able to connect the two together and have your brain be able to connect those two together to be able to be an effective multidimensional man. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. If you're interested in working with me on becoming multidimensional, having a multidimensional physique, I call it being multidimensionally jacked. Link will be in the description. I will help you with that because I believe multidimensionality is all about having range as a man, being able to do it all, right? I don't believe that men need to be specialists because right now we live in an age where AI can replace any specialist that it wants to, but it can't replace the man who has the physique, who also has the voice and has the communication skills, and also has that essence, has that pull, has that magnetism, right? If you have all of these, it's literally impossible for you to lose in life. You'll be able to make as much money as you possibly want. easily, right? You've built some skills, you have a combination of skills. So now you look a certain way where you can attract people, because that's the whole goal of life, is to be able to attract people to either work with you or work for you or work alongside of you, right? Work alongside you and work with you are pretty much the same. But you want to be able to have that range. You want to be able to attract women, right? Through building a physique that attracts them, and retain them through building a mind and building a certain thinking pattern that allows for them to be mentally stimulated, right? And to be able to understand their nature. So you have to be able to have all of these things run together to be able to do that. But it first starts with lean is law and mass is mandatory. So again, links will be in the description if you want to work with me and things like that. But I appreciate you. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll catch you on the next one.